Hello friends, welcome to the session for the subject Human Resource Management. Today in this session we will be studying the discipline and disciplinary procedures. So friends, let us understand discipline. Discipline means systematically conducting the business by the organizational members who strictly adhere to the essential rules and regulations. These employees, organizational members work together as a team so as to achieve organizational mission as well as vision, and they truly understand that the individual and group aims and desires must be matched so as to ensure organizational success. A disciplined employee will be organized and an organized employee will be disciplined always. Employee behavior is the base of discipline in an organization. Discipline implies conforming with the code of conduct established by the organization. Discipline in an organization ensures productivity and efficiency. It encourages harmony and cooperation among employees as well as acts as a morale booster for the employees. In absence of discipline, there will be chaos, confusion, corruption and disobedience in an organization. In short, discipline implies obedience, orderliness and maintenance of proper subordination among employees. Work recognition, fair and equitable treatment of employees, appropriate salary structure, effective grievance handling and job security all contribute to organizational discipline. But now let us talk in the context of organization. I am talking about importance of discipline. Discipline is essential in all types of organizations as it helps for improving the employee morale. It contributes to increase the productivity, which is the ultimate goal of any organization. Discipline is of utmost importance to ensure the harmony to working to achieve organizational goals and objectives. It is the moral responsibility of the employer not to allow the indiscipline to affect the life of employees and productivity of the organization. There are different approaches to the discipline. Discipline is viewed from the three interpretations. Positive discipline. Positive discipline implies discipline without punishment. The main aim is to ensure and encourage self-discipline among the employees. The employees in this case identify the group objectives as their own objectives and strive or work hard to achieve them. The employees follow and adhere to the rules and regulations not due to the fear of punishment but due to the inherent desire to harmonize in achieving organizational goals. Employees exercise self-control to meet these goals. Next one is negative discipline. Employees adhere to the rules and regulations in fear of punishment, which may be in form of fines, penalties, demotions or transfers. In this case, the employees do not perceive organizational goals as their own goals. The action taken by the management to ensure desired standard of behavior, code of conduct from the employees in an organization is called negative discipline. The fear of punishment prevents the employees from going off the track. The next one is self-discipline. It means the training that corrects, molds and strengthens the discipline in an individual. It refers to one's effort as self-control for the purpose of adjusting oneself to certain needs and demands. This form of discipline is based on, first, punishment seldom produces desired result. Secondly, a self-respecting person tends to a better worker than one who is not. Therefore, the discipline is a constructive way of correcting undesirable employee behavior. It is used to correct the poor employee performance rather than simply as punishment for any conduct. Now, let us understand what is indiscipline or misconduct. Misconduct is a violation of established rules and procedures. It is an act which is prejudicial to the interest of the organization. It is an act which is prejudicial to the interest of the organization. It is a serious form of indiscipline against the management. The scope of misconduct is, always in organization you will observe this, like attendance related problems, which involves like unexcused absence, chronic absence, leaving without permission, etc. Next one is dishonesty and related problems. These involves theft, unsafe acts, falsifying employment application, willfully damaging assets, falsifying work records, etc. The next one is performance related problems. Failure to complete the assigned work, producing substandard products, failure to meet production norms, etc. In organization you will also find off the job behavior problems like insubordination, smoking, fighting with colleagues, gambling, carelessness, use of abusive language, accepting bribe, gifts. These are the few examples. So, we are going to talk about causes of indiscipline. It is observed that the non-cooperation results in indiscipline. Many factors like social, economic and cultural factors also play a significant role in causing indiscipline. Many times indiscipline is due to managerial faults, lapses, thoughtless words, deeds and poor management. There are few causes for the indiscipline. The first one is absence of effective leadership. The lack of effective leadership results in poor management in the areas of direction, guidance, instructions, etc., which in turn causes indiscipline. Next one is unfair management practices. Unfair practices like wage discrimination, non-compliance with the promotional policies, transfer policies, discrimination in allotment of work, defective handling of grievances, payment of low wages, delay in payment of wages, low quality of work life, poor physical working conditions, etc. creates indiscipline. The next one, which is again an important one, the cause which we are talking about is communication barrier. The absence of upward communication, that is communication to the top, absence of human and understanding approach on the part of superiors result in frustration and leads to indiscipline. Next one is non-uniform disciplinary action. In this case, management has to treat all the cases of indiscipline in a fair and equitable way. If management takes disciplinary action in a discriminating way, then it leads to violent protests. Next one is divide and rule policy. Managers in organizations often divide the employees into groups, get the information from the different groups about others and encourage the spying activity. Dividing team in organization results in indiscipline. Next one is inadequate attention to the personal problems and delay in solving personal problems creates frustration among individual workers. Next one is victimization and excessive pressures on the work of the subordinate may also lead to indiscipline. To ensure the discipline, first let us understand the characteristics of sound disciplinary system, which is very commonly known in HR or IR is red hot stove rule. In this case, what it is, let us understand. Discipline should be imposed without generating resentment. Management thinker McGregor put forward the red hot stove rule. which says that a sound and effective disciplinary system in an organization should have certain characteristics. These characteristics are: the first one, immediate. Just as when you touch a red hot stove, the burn is immediate. Similarly, the penalty for the violation should be immediate, and immediate disciplinary action must be taken for violation of the rules. Consistency. Just as a red hot stove burns everyone in same manner, likewise there should be high consistency in a sound disciplinary system. Discipline should be ensured. Discipline should be ensured with one of the important characteristics, that is nothing but impersonal approach. Just as a person is burned because of he touches the red hot stove and not because of any personal feelings, likewise impersonality should be maintained by refraining from personal or subjective feelings. Prior warning and notice. Just as an individual has a warning when he moves closer to the stove that he would be burned on touching it, likewise a sound disciplinary system should give advance warning to the employees as to the implications of not conforming to the standards of behavior or code of conduct in an organization. In short, a sound disciplinary system presupposes what? That is acquaintance, knowledge of rules. The employees should be well aware of the desired code of conduct, standard of behavior in the organization. This code of discipline should be published in employee handbook. Next one is timely action. Timely inquiry should be conducted for breaking the code of conduct in an organization. The more later the inquiry is made, the more forgetful one becomes, and the more he feels that punishment is not deserved. The next one, fair and just action. There should be same punishment for same offense or misconduct. There should be no favoritism. Discipline should be uniformly enforced always in organization. Next one is positive approach. The disciplinary system should be preventive and not punitive. Concentrate on preventing misconduct and not on imposing penalties. The employees should not only be explained the reason for actions taken against them, but care should be taken on such fines and penalties. Now let us understand types of penalties for misconduct or indiscipline. For not following the standards of behavior, code of conduct in an organization, there are two kinds of penalties which are categorized as major penalties. This includes demotion, dismissal, transfer, discharge, withholding increments, etc. Next one is minor penalties. This includes oral warning, written warnings, fines, loss of privileges, etc. So friends, we have understood the characteristics, we have understood the penalty. Now let us understand how can we do this in an organization. I am talking about disciplinary procedures. So let us understand how it is. Disciplinary and grievance procedures are frameworks which provide clear and transparent structure for dealing with difficulties which may arise as part of the working relationship from either the employer's or employee's perspective. These procedures are necessary to ensure that everybody is treated in the same way in similar circumstances, to deal with issues fairly and reasonably, and to ensure that employers are compliant with the current legislation and follow the relevant acts and code of practices. Most employers will have their own procedures which comply with the laws of the country. Friends, now let us understand essentials of discipline and disciplinary procedures. Every employee should know what is expected of them in terms of standards of performance or conduct. Employees are able to identify obstacles to achieve the required standards and to enable employers to take appropriate action. An appropriate process has been followed should an employee complain about the way they have been dismissed. Parties should try to resolve matters without recourse to an employment tribunal. Grievance procedures are needed to provide individuals with a course of action if they have a complaint which they are unable to resolve through their regular or informal communication with their line manager. Provide points of contact and timescales to resolve issues of concern. The next one is try to resolve matters without recourse to an employment tribunal. Friends, while doing all those things, what is code of discipline? The issue of discipline in an industry was discussed in Indian Labour Conference, and the code of discipline was formed and introduced by that tripartite body in 1958. Discipline in the relationship between workers and employers can better be enforced if both the parties accept their responsibilities and show a willingness to discharge them. In the absence of any statutory provision at all India level for the recognition of trade union, the provision in this regard has been incorporated in the Code of Discipline. The main elements of the codes are: first one, the two parties agree to utilize the existing machinery for the settlement of industrial disputes. Second, the parties accept that the disputes not settled mutually shall be referred to voluntary arbitration. Third, the parties shall not resort to strikes and lockouts without first exploring all avenues of settlement. Fourth, the code specifies the criteria for the recognition of trade union and creates an obligation on employers to recognize the majority union in an establishment or industry. Fifth one, the two parties shall not resort to the unfair labor practices detailed out in the code. Sixth one, management and trade unions agree to establish a grievance procedure on a mutually agreed basis. The other code adopted in May 1958 was the Code of Conduct. Disciplinary action. The disciplinary procedure in Indian industries usually consists of certain steps, and these steps are: the first one is issuing a letter of charge. In organization, when an employee commits an act of misconduct that requires the disciplinary action, in that case, the charge sheet is to be issued. The charge sheet contains the charges of the misconduct or indiscipline clearly. The charge sheet should also ask for an explanation for the said criminal act, and the employee should be given sufficient time for answering this. Consideration of explanation. The next step starts after getting the answer for the charge sheet served to the employee. The explanation furnished be considered, and if it is satisfactory, no disciplinary action should be taken. Next one is show cause notice. In this step, show cause notice is issued by the manager when there is sufficient prima facie evidence of employee's misconduct. However, this gives the employee another chance to account for his misconduct and rebut the charges made against him. Then the inquiry should be initiated by the first serving him a notice of inquiry indicating clearly the name of the inquiry officer, time, date and place of inquiry, etc. The next step, holding full-fledged inquiry. This is in conformity with the principle of the natural justice, where employee concern must be given an opportunity to be heard. When the inquiry is completed, then the findings of the same are recorded. At the end, the inquiry officer should suggest the nature of disciplinary action to be taken against the misconduct and the employee. Making a final order of the punishment. If the misconduct of the employee is proved, then the disciplinary action is to be taken. The disciplinary action should be decided based on the employee's previous record, precedents, effects of the disciplinary action on other employees, etc., have to be considered. The next one and the last one is follow-up. Once the disciplinary action is taken, a follow-up is required to be taken, and the consequences of the implementation of disciplinary action should be noted and taken care. So friends, to ensure the discipline in our organization, let us understand the essentials of good disciplinary system. In organization, to avoid the conflict and lawsuit, the manager must administer discipline properly. To ensure the discipline, let us understand the essentials of good disciplinary system. In organization, to avoid the conflict and lawsuit, the manager must administer discipline properly. To ensure the discipline, the process is to be known to the employee. This process is based on the notion that every employee has the right to be treated fairly when disciplined. For the effective disciplinary procedure, the factors are rules and performance criteria should be well designed. It is responsibility of employer to create awareness about the rules, performance criteria and required standard of performance to be created amongst the employees. Manager shall also take effort to create awareness about the consequences of the violation of the rules and norms. Next one is documentation. The documentation of the facts and evidences of the indisciplined behavior or misconduct is to be collected and maintained. Consistency in the implementation and administration of rule and action is required. This helps to build employees' belief on the discipline process and gives a message that there is no scope for discrimination or favoritism. Next one is timely action is to be taken for the effective discipline. Training is to be provided to the managers and supervisors on the process of discipline, how discipline is to be ensured for the organization. Next one is effective discipline is required to be handled impersonally. It should focus on behavior, not on the person. While doing so, the objective is to correct the behavior of an individual. For discipline, it is desirable that it shall start with oral warning, then written warning, suspension, and last action should be of dismissal in the serious lapses or misconduct. Organizational policies, procedures and rules should be apprised on regular intervals. It is important for managers to understand the principles of natural justice. It is the base for any investigation or inquiry procedure. The concept has derived from the Roman literature, which believed that some legal principles were natural or self-evident and did not require a statutory basis. It is based on the two basic legal safeguards governing all decisions by judges or in quasi-judicial exercises. The right to be heard, and the next one is no person should be judged in his own case. The principles of the natural justice states that no man should be held guilty without getting an opportunity to explain his or her view. To understand better, one can derive these principles of natural justice. The person or persons who is the subject of concern must know all the allegations in relation to the behavior. They must have full opportunity to put their case. All parties to the complaint must have the right to be heard. It also states that employees should get opportunity to present evidence, to cross-examine the evidences put against him or her. Also, to explain views without any pressure or fear. Now we will understand what is domestic inquiry. This is in-house act of department in search for the truth or information about some affairs or happenings involving departmental employee. It is a proceeding of quasi-judicial nature to be conducted in a manner to ensure a fair deal to the accused employee. It is an inquiry into the conduct of an employee. Charges are framed and after observing the principles of natural justice, an order of punishment or otherwise is passed by the competent authority. Domestic something of home or family affairs. Enquiry is the act of inquiry, collection of information by asking questions and interrogations. Search for truth, information or knowledge, investigation into facts or principles. Having understood the meaning of domestic inquiry, now we will study the objective of domestic inquiry. To ascertain the truth against alleged acts, whether an employee is guilty of delinquency. Next one is to impose penalty according to the degree of culpability, to find out who is responsible, how the offence was committed, whether such conduct could have been avoided had the standing instructions on the subject been properly followed by the incumbent. Domestic inquiry must be conducted by an impartial person. This person is expert with intricacies and procedures of domestic inquiry. Now let us understand the flow chart of disciplinary procedure. Stage 1. Written complaint is the report of misconduct. Stage 2. Preliminary inquiry. In this, if there is no prima facie case, then the case is to be dropped. Stage 3. Suspension. Stage 4. Serving charge sheet. Stage 5. Study the reply given by charge sheeted employee, in which we have to check if the charge sheeted employee pleads guilty and reply is satisfactory. Major, minor, innocent penalty exoneration can be decided. If he does not plead guilty and reply is unsatisfactory, proceed with the inquiry, that is stage 6, appointment of inquiry officer and presenting officer. Next stage is serving inquiry notice. Stage 8 is inquiry proceedings. Stage 9 is inquiry report. Stage 10, if the charge or charges are proved, check the past record, and if any conciliation or adjudication proceedings are going on, check the Industrial Dispute Act provision. Stage 11, final show cause notice before punishment. Stage 12, study the reply given by employee to final show cause notice. Stage 13, give clarifications, if any, asked for in reply to final show cause notice. Stage 14th, punishment order. Stage 15th, appeal by the accused employee. Stage 16th, reply to appeal and final punishment order, disposal of appeal. Stage 17, implementation of punishment order and closing the file. Stage 18, contest the case if referred to the conciliation or adjudication. So friends, we have come to an end of the session on discipline and disciplinary procedure. Discipline refers to a procedure that corrects or punishes employee because a rule or procedure has been violated. Friends, in personal life and professional life, discipline is important as it helps to achieve the personal and professional goals. Don't break the rules and make a habit to follow it, and remember, self-discipline is important. Let us start it from right now. Thank you.